Stop guessing. Start seeing the game for what it is. If you're like most men, you give, and give hoping it will finally click. You text first. You explain yourself. You try to be kinder, more available, more understanding. Yet the more you try, the colder she gets. You feel the shift. Your attention is free, your emotions are exposed, and you are stuck wondering what changed. It is not that she is impossible. It is that no one ever taught you how the dynamics actually work. Here is the unlock. Once you understand 5 simple truths, everything settles. You will see why love often feels conditional. You will see why your attention is currency, not a gift. You will see how emotional control flips the power back to you. You will see why options matter and why self-respect is the wall that ends manipulation. No tricks, no anger, just clear vision and a calm way of moving that makes you the chooser, not the chaser. In this video, I am going to lay out those truths in plain English with steps you can use right away. If you are new here, subscribe so you do not miss the daily lessons that build stronger men, stronger boundaries, and better relationships. Keep your mind open, take notes, and test it for yourself. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's get into it. Number 1. The truth about her love. Every man wants to believe that love, real love, is unconditional. You give your best, stay loyal, provide, protect, and you expect that effort to be returned. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men never hear, a woman's love is never unconditional. It's based on how you make her feel, not on what you've done. And those feelings change depending on who you are right now, not who you were. That doesn't make her heartless, it makes her human. A woman's attraction and love are tied to her sense of safety, admiration, and respect. The moment she stops feeling those things, love starts fading. She may still care about you, but she no longer feels the same way. Look at Daniel, 46, and Clara, 44. They met in college. Back then, he was confident, ambitious, always leading. She adored that energy. It made her feel alive and protected. 20 years later, Daniel's life got comfortable. He stopped pushing forward. He started apologizing for everything, trying too hard to please her. Clara began to withdraw. She said she needed space. What really happened was that she stopped feeling his strength, the same strength that once made her fall for him. Women love through emotion, not obligation. When you change your energy, their feelings follow. That's why the man she fell in love with isn't always the man she stays in love with. The love was real, it just wasn't unconditional. This truth might sting, but it's also freeing. Once you accept that her love depends on who you are, you stop expecting her to be the anchor. You become the anchor yourself. You stop chasing the illusion of unconditional acceptance and start building self-respect that doesn't depend on her validation. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology did. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." That means love fully but with eyes open. Don't confuse devotion with dependency. Don't confuse acceptance with surrender. The moment you stop begging for loyalty, you start inspiring it. A woman respects the man who can love her deeply while still walking away if she crosses his boundaries. That balance affection with self-respect is what keeps desire alive. Because when she feels that you can live without her, she starts wanting to be part of your life again. Daniel learned that the hard way. After the separation, he didn't beg. He rebuilt himself, hit the gym, started his own business, spent time in silence. Months later, Clara reached out. She said, "You seem different, more grounded." What she really meant was, "You're back to being the man I trusted." When you live by principle instead of emotion, women feel it. They can sense when your love comes from strength, not need. That's the kind of love that earns respect, not pity. So remember this, her love is conditional, but your dignity doesn't have to be. Love her fully, but stay rooted in yourself. because when you stop asking for unconditional love, you start commanding genuine respect. If you've ever seen this shift happen in your own life, drop it in the comments. I've seen this. Stick with me because this is just the beginning. Number 2, the power of your attention. Your attention is the most valuable currency you'll ever own. Yet most men spend it like loose change, handing it out freely, chasing validation, trying to buy affection with constant presence. The truth is, what you give attention to grows. When you flood someone with it, you make yourself predictable. When you withdraw it, you create gravity. Attention is power because it shapes perception. Whatever you focus on, you give energy to. When you overinvest in her texting first, checking her stories, analyzing her words, you teach her one thing: you need her more than she needs you. And the moment she feels that polarity dies, you shift from being the man she's drawn to the man she manages. The Stoics understood this long before we had psychology. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In modern terms, what you choose to focus on defines your experience. A man who gives his attention recklessly loses his peace, while a man who directs it with purpose commands his world. Your attention tells people what matters. When you pour it into chaos, you feed drama. When you give it to discipline, silence, and progress, you feed power. Women feel that instantly. They can tell when your energy is scattered and when it's centered. The former feels needy, the latter feels magnetic. Think about this: when you stop reaching out first, stop over-explaining, stop trying to make her feel something, she starts wondering. Silence creates space. That space creates tension. And tension managed well is the root of attraction. You don't need to play games. You just need to stop begging for attention when yours is the real prize. Seneca once said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." That's the curse of the modern man: constantly available, endlessly distracted. Every notification, every scroll, every reaction steals a piece of his focus. You cannot command respect when you're ruled by impulse. But when you reclaim your attention, when you decide what deserves your energy, you become rare again. Rarity creates value. The less attention you give away, the more powerful it becomes. Not because you're withholding love, but because you're reminding the world that your time has weight. That's what makes a woman look twice, not desperation but discernment. She feels the difference between a man chasing her approval and a man choosing where to place his focus. Here's what most men miss: indifference isn't power. Direction is. A man who simply ignores everything is empty. A man who chooses what matters and discards what doesn't. That's Stoic mastery. When you can look at a situation, feel the pull to react, and still choose silence, you're untouchable. You've shifted from emotional reaction to deliberate control. That's the quiet power women can't name but always feel. Because attention, when used wisely, says, "I value myself first." It tells her you're not here to be entertained, you're here to lead, to build, to choose. Your attention defines your worth. Spend it cheap and you'll be treated cheap. Guard it and the world adjusts to your pace. If this truth makes sense to you, drop it below. I want this. Stay with me. You don't want to miss this. Number 3. Control your emotions. Control her mind. Here's a truth that separates men who keep a woman's respect from those who lose it every time. The one who controls his emotions controls the dynamic. The moment you start reacting to everything she says or does, you hand her the steering wheel. The man who can't control himself ends up being controlled by everyone else. Let's make this real. Stephen, 49, had been dating Laura, 46, for almost a year. At first, things were easy, full of energy, laughter, and passion. But then she started testing him in subtle ways, taking longer to reply, bringing up her ex, or cancelling plans last minute. Stephen took it personally. He'd text paragraphs, demand explanations, and try to fix things through emotional conversations. The more he reacted, the less she respected him. He thought his vulnerability would win her empathy, but it only confirmed her suspicion that he couldn't handle pressure. One day, Stephen decided to stop explaining and start observing. When she went silent, he didn't chase. When she got emotional, he stayed calm. Something changed. Instead of losing interest, she became more engaged. Why? Because calm control is magnetic. The moment a woman realizes she can't control your emotions, she begins to trust you. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about emotional composure, responding, not reacting. The Stoics called this apatheia, not in the sense of indifference, but mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not philosophy. That's strategy. A woman doesn't test you because she wants drama. She tests you to measure your strength, to see if your confidence is real or just talk. When she gets emotional, she wants to feel your stability. When she becomes unpredictable, she's subconsciously asking, "Can I trust this man to lead when I can't control my feelings?" If the answer is yes, she relaxes. If the answer is no, she pulls away. When you lose control of your emotions, anger, frustration, jealousy, you lose your power. But when you remain calm, grounded, and unbothered, you create what psychologists call emotional safety. She feels she can express herself without chaos. That's what opens her up again, not long speeches or apologies, but your steady presence. Think about Stephen again. When Laura saw that he wasn't chasing her mood swings, she adjusted hers. Suddenly, she was the one reaching out, initiating plans, seeking connection. The polarity flipped. That's what emotional control does. It resets the balance. A man who controls his emotions doesn't need to argue or prove his point. His silence speaks louder. His calm unsettles chaos. His presence creates order without saying a word. That's why women are drawn to Stoic energy. It's rare. It feels safe, powerful, and masculine. Here's the irony: the less you react, the more influence you have. Because emotional stability isn't weakness, it's dominance. Not over her, over yourself. And that kind of dominance commands respect, not fear. Remember this: she doesn't fall for your words. She falls for your composure. The man who can stay calm when everything around him is shaking becomes unforgettable. If you've ever seen how staying calm can shift an entire situation, share it below. I've seen this. Let's keep going. It gets deeper. Number 4. The secret of having options. Here's one truth that every man needs to tattoo on his mind. The man with options is the man with power. Most men lose respect in relationships because they live like they have no choice. They attach their happiness, confidence, and identity to one woman, one outcome, one scenario. The moment she pulls away, they panic. But when you understand the psychology of options, everything changes. Options aren't about juggling women or playing games. They're about mindset. A man with options knows that he is not dependent on any single person for validation or meaning. He's built a life so full of purpose, growth, and self-discipline that no rejection can shake his foundation. That energy is what women find irresistible. It's not arrogance, it's abundance. Epictetus said it best: wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The same rule applies to desire. When you stop needing, you start attracting. When your self-worth isn't tied to her attention, you move differently, calmer, more certain, more in control. And she feels that difference immediately. Women are drawn to men who can walk away, not because they're heartless, but because they're whole. The ability to walk away isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It says, I value myself enough to not beg for what isn't mine. That's what resets the balance of power. You're not chasing approval, you're choosing alignment. Most men don't have options because they never built them. They put their energy into chasing instead of creating. But here's what happens. When you start building options, you naturally become more attractive. You start hitting the gym, working on your business, refining your habits. You meet new people not to fill a void, but to expand your world. And every time you do, your confidence compounds. The Stoics lived this truth. They didn't cling to people or outcomes. They lived by principle amor fati, the love of fate. They trusted that whatever left their life wasn't meant to stay, and whatever stayed didn't need to be forced. That's real power, emotional independence. When you stop fearing loss, you become impossible to manipulate. The moment a woman realizes you have options, the dynamic flips. Suddenly you're not chasing her energy, she's chasing yours. But this isn't about playing cold. It's about living fully. When your life has purpose and movement, she feels your momentum. She wants to be part of that flow. And if she doesn't, you keep moving because your direction doesn't depend on her permission. Options don't make you selfish, they make you selective. You stop settling for drama, for disrespect, for anyone who doesn't add peace to your life. You stop reacting from scarcity and start acting from strength. And if you're ready to build that kind of strength, not just in theory but in daily practice, this is where it starts. Join the Stoic Brotherhood membership. Inside, you'll learn the real tools to rebuild discipline, emotional control, and masculine energy that naturally attracts without chasing. Exclusive lessons, private discussions, and weekly insights, everything designed to help you become untouchable. Remember, options aren't given, they're created. Build your world, and the right people will want to be in it. Stay small, and you'll keep begging for space in someone else's. If this truth hits home, write it below. This hits hard. Don't go anywhere, the next part will surprise you. Number 5. Respect that turns her on. Every man wants desire. But what most men never realize is that the foundation of a woman's desire isn't lust, it's respect. If she doesn't respect you, she can't truly feel attracted to you. Respect is what keeps desire alive long after looks fade, long after the spark cools. When she respects your boundaries, your mission, your energy, that's when she feels something deeper. That's when she wants to follow your lead. Take Mark 52 and Erica 49. They met after both went through divorces. Mark promised himself he wouldn't repeat old mistakes, overgiving, explaining constantly, trying to prove he was a good man. Early in their relationship, Erica tested his limits. She'd interrupt him in front of friends, make little sarcastic jokes, and push to see how far she could go. Instead of arguing or reacting, Mark stayed calm. One night, after she made another passive-aggressive comment at dinner, he quietly said, "If you talk to me like that again, I'll leave." No drama, no anger, just calm certainty. She froze. Then she nodded. "You're right," she said softly. From that moment on, something changed. Her tone softened, her respect deepened, and with it her attraction reignited. That's the paradox most men never learn. When you lead with boundaries, you create desire. When you seek approval, you kill it. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you command through your behavior. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus said, "You will become what you give your attention to." When you give attention to self-respect, discipline, and integrity, you become the kind of man people, including women, instinctively admire. Women feel that energy on a primal level. They don't consciously think, "I respect him." They feel it in how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you respond when tested. It's not about dominance, it's about self-governance. You don't control her, you control yourself. And that control builds a quiet authority that women find deeply attractive. Mark later told a friend, "It wasn't about scaring her or proving anything. It was about respecting myself first. That's it." When you respect yourself, you give her something real to respect. That doesn't mean being rude or cold. It means being clear about what you tolerate and following through when lines are crossed. Every time you back down to avoid conflict, you trade respect for comfort. Every time you let disrespect slide, you tell her you don't believe your standards matter. And once she stops respecting your word, she stops trusting your strength. When trust goes, attraction follows. Real respect is quiet. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't need validation. It simply stands tall and lets the world adjust. That's what turns her on, not power over her, but mastery over yourself. And here's the irony: the more you respect yourself, the more gentle and grounded your energy becomes. You don't need to dominate. You simply exist with strength that doesn't waver. That steadiness makes her relax, and when a woman relaxes, she opens up emotionally, mentally, and physically. Women crave that kind of man, the one who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't bend just to keep peace. The man who can say no calmly is far more seductive than the one who says yes to everything. So remember this: she can only love you as much as she respects you. Lead yourself first, and everything else follows. If this feels true to you, drop it in the comments. I've felt that. Stay right here, it's about to get real. Number 6. The danger of being too available. One of the biggest mistakes men make, especially good men, is being too available. They think showing up for everything, answering every text instantly, and always saying yes proves loyalty and love. But here's the hard truth: when you're too available, you stop being valuable. Availability kills mystery. It tells her she doesn't need to earn your presence, your time, or your attention. And when something costs nothing, people stop respecting it, even if they once desired it. The same attention that drew her in at first becomes background noise when you make yourself constantly accessible. Women don't consciously think, "He's too available, I'll lose interest." What actually happens is energetic. When you erase all space between you, you remove the tension that fuels attraction. Desire needs contrast, closeness and distance, presence and absence, silence and response. Without that rhythm, everything feels flat. The Stoics understood this principle deeply, though they spoke of it as balance rather than romance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste the remaining part of your life in thoughts about others, when you do not refer your thoughts to some object of common utility." In other words, your time should serve purpose, not obsession. When you give every spare moment to someone else, you lose your direction, and with it your edge. Being too available sends a subconscious message: my world revolves around you. And no woman truly wants that. She might say she does, but what she feels attraction for is a man with his own orbit, his own mission, focus, and discipline. A man she can join, not a man she can consume. Stoicism teaches detachment, not coldness, but perspective. When you live with purpose, your attention has weight. You don't give it away easily because you know it fuels everything you build. That's what gives your presence value. When you're not always reachable, your energy becomes rare, and rarity creates desire. Think about it: when a man pulls back slightly, not to play games, but to focus on himself, the entire dynamic shifts. She starts wondering what you're doing, where your focus went. Her imagination fills the space you created. That's when she starts chasing again, not because she's losing control, but because she's drawn to your independence. But when you're always there, always waiting, always available, there's no room for her to feel that pull. You've given her certainty, and certainty kills excitement. Attraction thrives on the unknown. She wants to feel that you could walk away if something doesn't align with your peace. That's not cruelty, that's confidence. Seneca said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." When your time and energy are spread too thin, constantly texting, checking, waiting, you vanish. You lose your gravity. The man who can say, "I'm busy building," instead of "I'm waiting for her reply," radiates strength. He lives with purpose first and emotion second, so don't confuse availability with love. Love is choosing someone with intention, not surrendering all your space. When she sees you can live without constant contact, she feels safer because your life doesn't depend on her moods. That's when she respects you. That's when she starts missing you. Stop proving your loyalty by being always present. Prove it by staying focused. Because in the end, a man who is too available loses himself, and a man who loses himself loses everything. If this truth makes sense to you, write it below. This hits hard. Stay with me, you don't want to miss this. Number 7. How to make her chase you. Most men spend their entire lives chasing women, trying to convince, impress, and please. They pour their time and energy into pursuit, thinking effort equals attraction. But the more they chase, the faster she runs, because no woman truly desires the man who needs her more than she needs him. To make her chase you, you have to understand one thing. Attraction is not built through pursuit, it's built through polarity. The moment you become the one moving forward while she stands still, the energy flips, she becomes the prize, and you become the pursuer. But when you step back, when you focus on your own direction and purpose, polarity reverses. She starts to feel your absence. She starts to notice your stillness. And that's when she begins to chase. Let's make this real. Jason, 47, from Arizona, spent years being the nice guy. He thought attention, consistency, and constant communication were what kept women interested. Every relationship ended the same: strong in the beginning, cold at the end. After his last breakup, Jason decided to change something. Instead of chasing, he focused on himself. He hit the gym, joined a business mentorship, and stopped checking his phone every hour. Within weeks, his ex, Samantha, 44, texted him, "You've been quiet lately. What's going on?" That's the shift. When you stop moving toward her, she starts moving toward you. Because women aren't attracted to your availability, they're drawn to your direction. They want to feel your presence, not your pressure. The Stoics understood this power. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you master your emotions, your time, and your focus, you stop acting from need. You move from abundance, not desperation. That's what creates the energy she can't resist. When Jason stopped chasing, he didn't become cold, he became centered. His energy said, "I'm not waiting for you to choose me. I've already chosen my path." And that subtle shift made Samantha feel something she hadn't felt in years: curiosity. Because a man on his mission is unpredictable. He's exciting, he's rare. Women chase mystery, not comfort. They chase energy that makes them feel alive, not energy that feels desperate. When you stop over-explaining, stop texting first, stop trying to prove your worth, you force her to feel your absence. That emotional space is what creates attraction. Here's the thing, you can't fake this. Pretending to be detached while secretly checking your phone every minute doesn't work. You have to truly let go. You have to genuinely focus on your purpose, your body, your discipline. That's what makes your silence powerful. Because your energy no longer says, "I need you." It says, "I'm good either way." Jason learned that lesson for good. When Samantha tried to come back, he didn't rush to reply. He met her with calm energy, not revenge, not arrogance, just peace. "Good to hear from you," he said. That was it. No long messages, no emotional debate. And just like that, she was hooked again. You make her chase you not by withholding affection, but by withholding need. When your life is full, your time is valuable, and your emotions are stable, you become the prize. If you've ever pulled back and watched everything shift, tell me below. I've seen this. Stay close, this is where the Stoic power shows. Number 8. The moment she starts to fear losing you. There's a shift that happens in every relationship, a silent moment when a woman starts to realize she no longer has complete control over your emotions. That's the moment she begins to fear losing you. It's subtle at first. She becomes more curious, more attentive, more present. The energy changes. Why? Because she senses something she hasn't felt in a long time: uncertainty. See, the modern man gives his heart too quickly. He makes his world revolve around her, thinking that devotion equals security. But when everything about your energy says, "I'm not going anywhere," she stops valuing it. There's no tension left. Desire fades not because love is gone, but because certainty has killed mystery. Women don't consciously want to lose you, but they need to feel that they could. That feeling of uncertainty fuels attraction. It keeps her alert, engaged, emotionally invested. When she knows you won't chase, she starts moving toward you again. The moment she senses she could lose your focus, your attention, your presence, that's when her instincts awaken. The Stoics understood this dynamic long before modern psychology did. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a man who can control what others attempt to control in him." What does that mean here? It means you don't let your emotions or her behavior dictate your direction. You remain grounded. The less reactive you are, the more she starts reacting to you. When you stop arguing, stop explaining, stop trying to prove your loyalty, when you move with calm certainty, she begins to feel something powerful. She realizes she's no longer the center of your attention. She's no longer sure she can influence your mood. And that loss of control triggers her primal fear of disconnection. But paradoxically, it's what rekindles her desire. This isn't manipulation, it's balance. It's about shifting from dependency to polarity. You're not pulling away to punish her, you're simply living in your truth, focusing on your purpose and letting your energy speak for itself. When your presence no longer comes with guarantees, your value increases. She starts thinking about you more. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, what has your attention. That curiosity is the seed of attraction. The irony, you don't even have to try. It happens naturally when you stop needing her validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." When your ambitions rise above the need for approval, you become magnetic. You're no longer chasing love, you're chasing purpose. And that makes you the kind of man she can't easily replace. When she fears losing you, she'll test harder, but she'll also invest more. She'll start showing affection, seeking reassurance, and trying to rebuild emotional connection. That's her way of saying, "I still want to matter to you," and that's when your composure matters most. You don't rub it in, you don't gloat. You simply stay steady, kind but detached, firm but calm. Because the goal isn't to make her fear you, it's to make her respect your independence. You want her to understand that you're not in her life because you need her, but because you choose her. That's the balance between desire and dignity. When she senses that when she feels you could walk away and still be whole, that's the exact moment she fears losing you. And that's the moment she truly sees your value. If this truth resonates with you, write it below. This hits hard. Hold on, because the next truth hits harder. Number 9. The calm confidence she can't resist. There's a kind of man that women can't quite explain why they're drawn to. He's not the loudest in the room. He's not trying to prove himself. He's not even chasing attention. He just is. His presence carries something steady, a quiet confidence that says, "I'm good no matter what happens." That's the kind of energy women can't resist. Confidence isn't bravado. It's not walking around trying to dominate the room or win approval. It's calm, grounded in silence, not noise. When you're calm, you make her feel safe. When you're confident, you make her feel drawn in. Together, calm and confidence create the most powerful combination in attraction. Take David, 50, and Michelle, 47. They met at a charity event. Michelle was used to men who tried too hard, bragging about money, interrupting her stories, competing for attention. But David was different. He spoke slowly, listened fully, and didn't rush to fill the silence. When he smiled, it wasn't to impress, it was genuine. When she tested him, mentioning another man, teasing him lightly, he didn't flinch. He just grinned and said, "You seem to like attention," then changed the subject. That moment sealed it for her. His calm didn't come from arrogance, it came from certainty. She knew he wasn't performing. And that's what pulled her closer. The Stoics would call this ataraxia, a state of inner peace, unshaken by external chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's calm confidence, the ability to remain composed, no matter how emotional, unpredictable, or testing the situation becomes. Here's the truth: women crave emotional stability. They live in a world full of noise, emotions, opinions, expectations, and when they meet a man who moves through that chaos without losing his balance, he feels like an anchor. He becomes the calm in their storm. But this kind of confidence doesn't come from pretending, it comes from practice. You earn it by controlling your reactions, by choosing silence over arguments, by mastering your impulses. You stop needing to win every conversation. You stop proving your worth. You just show it in how you live. David used to be the opposite. After his divorce, he realized how often he'd tried to fix emotions instead of just holding space for them. He learned that calm doesn't mean emotionless, it means self-controlled. So he started working on it, meditating in the mornings, setting clear boundaries, slowing down before responding. Slowly, his energy changed, and women noticed. Michelle once told him, "When I'm around you, I can breathe." That's the effect of calm confidence. It doesn't overwhelm, it stabilizes. And that stability feels powerful, safe, and deeply masculine. Most men think they need to impress women with effort, but the man who's unbothered, unhurried, and unapologetically himself stands out more than any performance ever could. Because calm confidence doesn't shout, it whispers. And what it whispers is simple: I don't need to chase you. I'm already enough. That's the kind of man who never has to fight for attention. Because the moment he walks away, she feels his absence. Not because he played a game, but because his energy left a mark. If you've ever seen how staying calm shifts the entire dynamic, share it below. I've seen this. Let's keep going. The next step changes everything. Number 10. The mindset that ends the game. There's a point every man reaches, a breaking point, where he finally says, "I'm done playing, done chasing, proving, analyzing, and trying to make people see his worth." It's not bitterness, it's awakening. That's the moment the game ends. Not because you beat it, but because you stop participating. When you reach that point, you stop seeing relationships as competitions or power struggles. You stop trying to decode every message, test, and signal. Instead, you move with quiet certainty. You understand that you can't control how someone feels, only how you respond. And that's the mindset that separates boys from men. This is the essence of Stoic power. The game, whether it's dating, manipulation, or emotional drama, only works when you react. When you take the bait, defend your worth, or chase for reassurance, you keep feeding the cycle. But when you stay calm, unbothered, and focused on your own direction, you break it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. That's freedom. The world can throw chaos at you, but if your peace doesn't depend on anyone else, you're untouchable. See, every game in relationships is built on insecurity. Who needs who more? Who can get the upper hand? Who cares less? But when your sense of self doesn't come from her validation, you remove the leverage completely. You don't need to win, because there's nothing to lose. You already have what every man's chasing: inner control. Let's talk about what this mindset looks like in real life. Imagine a man who's finally stopped chasing approval. He's focused on his mission, building something meaningful. A business, a body, a life that reflects discipline. He's polite but detached, kind but firm. When a woman tests him, he smiles instead of arguing. When she pulls back, he doesn't panic. When she comes closer, he doesn't cling. He moves at his own pace, not hers. That man isn't playing hard to get, he's just hard to shake. His mindset says, "You can stay or go. Either way, I'm good." And that's what ends the game. because there's no longer any control to gain over him. Here's what most men miss. Being emotionally detached doesn't mean being cold, it means being free. It means you can love deeply without losing yourself. You can care without collapsing. You can give without begging. The mindset that ends the game is built on self-trust, the unshakable belief that you'll be okay regardless of what happens. This is what the Stoics lived for, not emotionless isolation but emotional discipline. They understood that strength isn't in avoiding love or pain but in mastering your reaction to it. When you stop needing outcomes, you start choosing them. You no longer chase validation, you attract alignment. And women feel that difference instantly. They sense when your peace isn't negotiable, when your energy isn't for sale. It's not arrogance, it's integrity. You're not against love, you've just outgrown dependence. That's when connection becomes pure, not transactional, not manipulative, not desperate. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free, brave enough to walk away, brave enough to stand alone. Brave enough to live by principle, not by emotion." That's the mindset that ends every game, not through force, but through clarity. Because when you truly know your worth, you don't play for attention, you play for purpose. You stop trying to win someone else's approval and start winning your own respect. And once you reach that level of awareness, the game loses all meaning. You're no longer chasing love. You've become it, steady, calm, unshakable. That's the mindset that ends the game, not with anger, not with control, but with peace, the kind of peace that no one can take from you. So now you understand, the real power isn't about playing games, chasing, or trying to win someone over. It's about mastering yourself. When you control your emotions, protect your attention, build your options, and live with calm confidence, you stop being reactive. You become grounded. You become the kind of man who commands respect without saying a word. This video wasn't just about women, it was about you. About becoming the kind of man who leads with strength, patience, and purpose. A man who no longer looks for validation, but creates it through his actions. That's what Stoicism teaches, not indifference but control, not arrogance but awareness. And once you live from that place, every relationship, every challenge, every test starts to move in your favor. If you're ready to take this further, to build unshakable emotional strength, true masculine composure, and the discipline to stay calm no matter what, join the Stoic Brotherhood membership. Inside, you'll find exclusive lessons, mindset training, and private mentorship to help you live like the modern Stoic, powerful, focused, and free. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Every day I share tools, philosophy, and strategies that help you become stronger, not just in relationships, but in life. Thank you for watching, brother. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, and I'll see you tomorrow.